We still have the, okay. Yes,
okay, so yeah, you're on. Okay, yeah, go ahead and you can start your podcast and start talking.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
Yes,
David?
Okay,
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, checking sound levels. Hello, everybody.
perfect. You got it. Okay, we're done.
Okay, so you'll close the GoToMeeting then?
We will. Go see. All right, thanks, Michael. Talk to you then.
Okay, so do you want me to just begin?
Go ahead. Yeah, begin.
Okay, very good.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. This is Michael Stern here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And one second, sorry about that. It's Michael Stern here in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I'm very pleased to have been invited to join tonight with Dr. David Ajabade and Sherry Plett to share with you this incredible science of redox signaling, this new approach to cellular health and repair. I am here in Scottsdale, Arizona, as I mentioned, and just a little bit of background about myself. I come from a background in the health and science area. I got a degree in biology, molecular biology. I spent a number of years in research, places like Johns Hopkins School of Medicine, over at W.R. Grace, over at USC School of Medicine. Places along those lines, doing research in molecular biology and biochemistry. Over the last 25 years or so, I've been pretty much full-time in doing work along the wellness area, doing work looking at what was the latest and greatest in areas of science and molecular biology, as well as energetic approaches. And a lot of it was really spurred on as a result of having a loved one that was very ill and really looking to see how I could find things that are out there to really assist that person. And as a result of that, I've learned a lot of wonderful things along the way. Tonight we're going to be talking about a new product, a new company with this product, and this product is called ASEA. It's an amazing product. In my 30 years of research, I've never seen anything like this. And just to kind of put it into perspective, about the last 10 years or so, I've been working with a piece of technology that I work primarily with alternative healthcare practitioners. I've been working with people like chiropractors and osteopaths, acupuncturists, orthomolecular doctors, and things along those lines. And I've been doing a lot of research in the applications of water with electrochemistry and working for different things in that arena. And I've been seeing all kinds of amazing results. When I got exposed to this research and this product called ASEA back about 6 months ago, I was prepped, I was ready, and when I heard the research about it, I knew immediately what they were talking about. And then it was really a matter of seeing whether this product really fulfilled the promises of the science that is ASEA. So let's talk a little bit about what this is all about. And first off, you know, we have things going on in the scientific community going on all the time. Technology is advancing on a regular basis, and I'm sure many of you would agree that we're not always aware of what's going on, what types of things are happening in the scientific world, in the technological world. Sometimes it could be years or even decades before it comes to our awareness. And things are happening at a very astonishing rate. That seems that in the last 10 years it's been truly amazing. But every once in a while we come up with something where it's not just a minor step forward, but a giant leap forward, a major paradigm change, if you will. And one of the things that happens is sometimes our old notions and ideas about things like nutritional health and awareness are challenged by new scientific breakthroughs. And ASEA is one of those challenges. ASEA is a brand new concept, a new idea. It's literally in a class of its own. It's in a new category. And in order to understand ASEA, you truly need to think beyond nutrition. Because truly it's a story that's never been told before. For the last 50 years in health and wellness, there's been major wonderful, breathtaking discoveries and things about essential amino acids, essential fatty acids, essential polysaccharides, polysaccharide peptides, a whole range of fantastic biomolecules that do all kinds of different things. But the concept between ASEA is beyond all of those nutritional concepts. It truly is something that has never before been seen. So let me just kind of start for a minute and just kind of share a little bit about what ASEA is not. And it isn't a vitamin or a mineral. It's not made from sea vegetations. It's not an herbal formula. It's not an exotic fruit or a berry juice. And it's not an antioxidant formula. So what exactly is ASEA? Well, in order to truly understand it, we have to begin at thinking about the way our bodies are at the cellular level. And truly, we live and die at the cellular level. Now, we've got somewhere around 30 to 40 trillion cells in our body. I mean, that's an unfathomable number. And most people aren't aware that literally every day of our lives, our body's producing somewhere along the lines of 300 billion brand new cells. 300 billion cells. Now, the unfortunate thing is that most people tend to think of ourselves the way we think of our cars. Our cars, they get old, they rust out, they wear out, but our bodies are amazingly dynamic. 300 billion cells basically every day that is being replaced. And what happens is some of these things that are happening is truly breathtaking. Like, for instance, every cell of our gastrointestinal tract is replaced every 4 to 5 days. Every 4 to 5 days. And so every month we've got all kinds of brand new things happening. Every 25 to 35 days we've got a completely new set of skin cells. And so we have this constant exchange and replacement of cells going on at the cellular level. So instead of thinking about having a healthy heart, I really want people to start thinking about having healthy heart cells instead of healthy brain, healthy brain cells, healthy liver cells instead of a healthy liver. So we truly are what we are at the cellular level. So unfortunately, those cells, those 40 trillion cells, are constantly under attack. And whether we're looking at external influences from pollution from the air, food, and water, from various different kinds of bacteria, viruses, stress, sun damage, wear and tear. Every time we exercise, we're literally damaging millions of cells. If we hurt ourselves externally, obviously, we're damaging very many cells. But the normal metabolic processes that happen within our bodies are also damaging cells by the millions literally every day. And that's why we have 300 billion cells that are replacing themselves literally every day. And the quality of these new cells that are happening is going to determine the quality of our life. So our cells have an incredible system that's designed to protect them as we go forward. And the ability for this system to deal with these damaged cells becomes less efficient as we age. So just think for a minute about a 5-year-old kid. Just imagine a 5-year-old kid and see them out there just playing at the jungle gym or playing at a schoolyard or whatever they want to do. They can be out there literally from morning to night and play as hard as they can possibly imagine. And the next day they wake up and guess what? They're ready to do it all over again. Now, what would happen to us as an adult if we were to do that? If we were to play that hard, we would get fatigued, we would get sore, we would wonder what we were thinking, we would wake up the next day and we'd be hurting big time. If we went and scraped our knee as a 5-year-old kid, in a couple of days you could hardly tell it was there. But if we scrape our knee as an adult, what happens? It could take weeks, sometimes even months, before we see that completely cleared up. What is different? What is different is that the effective system of our body to repair our damaged cells dramatically decreases to the point when we're at age 70, it's down to about 10%. And guess what? These damaged cells that happen are very much a part of the whole anti-aging process. So when we think about cellular health, I want you to think about 3 primary different aspects of cellular health. We've got protection, we got repair, and we got replacement. Protection, repair, replacement. replacement. So our cells, we'll talk about shortly, have a very sophisticated protection device to protect it against damage in the first place. And then if it does get damaged, then there's a sophisticated repair system. And if that repair system can't essentially repair the cell within a few hours, the cells are designed literally to digest themselves from the inside out through a process that's called apoptosis. And if the cell fails to do that, then the neighboring cells in the immune system are supposed to come in and take the cell out as a result of that in order for it to be replaced by the neighbors. Now, I know that sounds really harsh, but just imagine what it would be like if a cell that got damaged wasn't able to repair itself, and it got the DNA damage and it started to divide. Well, what would happen? Pretty soon you got 2 damaged cells, and then 4 damaged cells, 8 damaged cells, 16 damaged cells, and so on. So you can imagine what happens there. Now, scientists essentially recognize that this propagation of damaged cells truly is the basis of aging. And even worse, you can imagine a certain category of damaged cells, it goes on to become damaged tissues, damaged systems, damaged organs, and it is directly related to deteriorating health effects as well. So how does the body deal with this? Well, enter in the science of redox signaling molecules. The science of redox signaling molecules is a major breakthrough in terms of what's going on in the world today. In fact, if you take a look at it, redox signaling has really been a huge area of research over the last 8 to 10 years. Prior to that, very few people understood it. If you were to go out and Google redox signaling today, you would find thousands and thousands of papers on redox signaling. You can put redox signaling in with just about any different condition that you can imagine, and you'll find research going on somewhere in the world relative to the science of redox signaling and that particular condition. It's truly amazing. They now have a journal of redox signaling. They've got international conferences devoted to this breathtaking science of research going on in the redox signaling. So if you take a look at it, there was an atomic and medical physicist by the name of Dr. Gary Samuelson who wrote a book, The Science of Healing Revealed, these new insights of redox signaling. And this is the book that got my attention back at the end of September when I got exposed to redox signaling. And basically, Gary Samuelson sees that all health problems can be linked to damaged cells. Well, we kind of discussed that, but all health, this is just sort of summarizing it, all health cells linked to damaged cells, and that without cellular healing, life could not exist. In fact, if these cellular healing processes did not happen, we would only be able to survive for minutes or hours, because this process is so integral to the life cycle itself. So signaling molecules are really the fundamental basis of this whole thing. Now let's just kind of talk about signaling molecules and the science of redox signaling. Okay? The body is made up of an amazing communication system, a communication network. And our bodies have essentially 3 major communication processes. Now, we're all familiar with the nervous system. We're familiar with the nervous system. It communicates our body using the science, or using basically electrical impulses. Now, doctors are very familiar with another communication system in the body, and that is the endocrine system, which communicates using hormones and biomolecules. But very few scientists are aware, except for the ones doing the research out there, of this third communication system of redox signaling. And this is a communication system that is intimately involved in repairing the cells and communicating from cell to cell, cell to tissue, and cell to systems like the immune system, using this set of molecules that are very unique that are called reactive molecules. So let's talk a little bit about reactive molecules, these redox signaling molecules. Now, inside our cell, there's a power plant, a factory, if you will, that is called the mitochondria. And inside the mitochondria, it produces the energy currency of our body. It produces ATP. Now, scientists have been aware for decades that when the ATP is produced in the mitochondria through a process that's called electron transport, that it's creating a group of molecules called reactive molecules. Now, reactive molecules are simply electrochemically active molecules. There's two sets. There's one set that's involved in donating electrons and another set that is involved in receiving electrons. And these molecules were essentially, for the last 50 years, considered to be metabolic waste products. They didn't think that there was any true relevance to them. They just thought that they were produced in the process of this very, very important task of producing ATP. Well, in the last 8 to 10 years, with the research going on with redox signaling, it's been discovered that in fact these particular set of reactive molecules are extraordinarily important. In fact, they're the star performers in this new exciting science of redox signaling. So let's just take a couple of moments and talk about these two different sets of molecules. Now, one set of molecules has got a very, very important aspect and feature in working as antioxidant activators. And the antioxidants, as we all know, fight the free radicals. And so it's very, very important of what it does in activating these antioxidants. Now, the other set is involved in communications. It's involved in in the immune system, and how the immune system identifies pathogens and takes them out. And it does these many, many things. The key to health is having a balance of these two different sets of both the electron donating and the electron receiving reactive molecules that are produced in the mitochondria. So let's kind of take a closer look at these two different sets of molecules. Now, the breakthrough of ASEA is that ASEA has done what scientists have essentially considered to be impossible. And it's impossible in that they've been able to take these two sets of reactive molecules and stabilize them in one solution. Now, let me just kind of share with you a little bit about it. In the mitochondria, your mitochondria is essentially bathed in a media of salt water. And ASEA was created within using a saltwater medium. It's a very, very heavily patented process. It takes about 3 days to actually produce it. But what's impossible that chemists, even today, if they're not familiar with this, will pound on the tables and say it is impossible to take both of these sets of reactive molecules and have them in the same solution. They would just normally imagine that those two sets of reactive molecules would immediately neutralize each other, and you would be left with the original salt water. Let me just kind of give a little bit of background on ASEA, and then we'll go back to these reactive molecules again. ASEA was not created with the intention of creating these reactive molecules and balancing them in this saltwater solution. It really began its inception some 17 years ago. And what was done was there was an orthopedic surgeon with the intention of trying to find a way of sterilizing his surgical instruments without using toxic chemicals. If any of you may be aware that in the sterilization process, the chemicals they use for doing that are extremely toxic, and he was very holistically oriented, and he wanted to find a way to do that without subjecting himself and the environment that he was in there to the toxic chemicals that are used in sterilization. And so he developed a technique of using salt water and electrical process to essentially create a solution that was completely non-toxic, and yet somehow it was able to completely be germicidal. It was totally antimicrobial, and yet it completely non-toxic. Now, what happened in that process was at some point in time, one of his family members had gotten ill and decided to try drinking this crazy product that he was using for sterilizing his instruments, and had tremendous results, and that basically triggered a 15-year process where they created a public company, raised and spent close to $30 million, $17 million on clinical trials, doing all the toxicologies, everything involved in basically moving through an FDA process. But basically what happened after 15 years of doing this, they kind of hit the wall for a couple of really significant reasons. The first is that the product was completely non-toxic. In the pharmaceutical realm, they've got something that's required by the FDA where you have to be able to identify something called an LD50. And LD50 is the lethal dose that it will kill 50% of the animals that you subject it to. And that's something that's very important in that pharmaceutical realm for determining dosaging. And the problem that they had with that particular product is they were not able at any quantity to create a toxic response. They weren't able to kill an animal with this. The FDA was just saying, hey, bring me a dead animal. The other thing that was really significant was they couldn't basically articulate why that particular product was doing what it was doing. They did not know about this amazing science of redox signaling back then. It wasn't until the current owners of this technology brought in their own team of scientists, including Dr. Gary Samuelson, whose book we looked at previously, that were able to articulate the mechanism of action. And most importantly, it seemed that the FDA was just not quite ready of looking at some major breakthrough made from something as simple as salt and water. In fact, when the product was first introduced to Dr. Gary Samuelson, and this guy has this amazing background dealing with nanotechnology, nanoparticles, and he was told to take a look at something that science was based on salt water and salt and water, he basically said, look, I'm a real scientist, I deal with nanoparticles, particles that have never been seen before mankind, and just everything that can possibly manage as far as breakthroughs from salt water has got to already be done. And what happened was Vertus Norton, the CEO and co-founder of this company, said, look, Gary, there's 17 years of research, there's millions of dollars that have been spent. Just take a look at some of this and take a look. And Gary, just being a nice guy, he said, kind of in passing, like, okay, I'll take a look at the research. And he was amazed to see that there was defensible science that showed what this product did, and that basically got his interest. And it was a result of that he started really delving into this and discovering not only this tremendous research of redox signaling, but it was Gary Samuelson as a physicist that developed the mechanism that allowed this process of stabilizing these reactive molecules in a solution. In fact, when they first stabilized it, they went to the chemist there at the University of Utah and they said, hey, we got this bottle of liquid, it stabilized reactive molecules, and these guys were saying, impossible, you cannot do it, pounding on the tables, insisting it was just impossible scientifically. They gave them a bottle and they said, okay, well, I'll tell you what, you analyze it and tell us what we got. They came back and they said, this is amazing, you've done it, you've stabilized these reactive molecules, we don't understand it. In fact, we now need to completely evaluate why we thought it wasn't possible to do. So, let's take a little bit more of a look at this. So, being able to create these stabilized molecules and do it outside of the body has never ever been done before. Never been done before. So we're not talking about a natural product. We're not talking about finding some new fruit, some new berry, some new herb, some new remedy that's out there that has tremendous abilities, that if you give it to the body, it creates some sort of process the body responds to and helps you get healthy in the process. We're actually talking about something that is completely beyond natural. It's actually native to the body. And what do I mean native to the body? Literally in every cell of your body, every single second of the day, you already have ASEA. It's just as we looked in that previous slide where we looked at how it went from 100% when you're a kid to 70 to 10% when you're 70 years old. The quantity of that decreases as we get older. So let's get back to these reactive molecules, those two sets that we talked about. The first, the antioxidant activators. Now, antioxidants have been an amazing buzzword for the last 20 years. People talking about all kinds of antioxidants, people talking about ORAC scores, and everybody's fighting for the better antioxidant story. And years ago, it all kind of started with just the basic vitamins, A, C, and E as being antioxidants. And then people started talking about all these exotic fruits and berries, and we've all been hearing about these different things, and everybody's fighting over who's got the better story, the better antioxidant. And then, in more recent time, the focus has been on these protective enzymes inside the cell, the antioxidants, and looking at things like glutathione and superoxide dismutase and catalase. Now, nutritional experts would all basically agree that glutathione, SOD, and catalase are the master antioxidants, and you can't take these particular antioxidants externally. You can't take a supplement with glutathione, SOD, or catalase. They must be produced literally inside of your cell. And when we talked about that protect, repair, replacement cycle that's so important to cells, these particular antioxidants are the primary protection mechanisms against oxidative stress. And all cell damage is directly as a result or involved with oxidative stress. In other words, anything that's involved in damaging a cell shows up first as a result of oxidative stress. And oxidative stress is what goes on to create this damage to the cell. Glutathione, SOD, catalase are primarily involved in essentially protecting our cells from oxidative stress. Now, here's the thing that most people don't realize. Most people don't realize that without these reactive molecules, that antioxidants by themselves are useless. That antioxidants, it's very much like, we'll use the analogy of a light bulb. A light bulb is an incredible breakthrough invention. It's one of the greatest things that's happened over the last 100+ years. But without electricity, is a light bulb going to be significant? Just imagine that your electricity goes out in your house and your lights go out. Would it be of any value or use to you to run to the store and buy a bunch of light bulbs? No, of course it wouldn't be. So very much like electricity, you got to have that electricity to activate the light bulb. Well, when we think about antioxidants, without the reactive molecules, you've got to have these reactive molecules to activate those antioxidants. And the amazing thing is that studies have shown that if you add ASEA, it increases the effectiveness, the actual activity of those existing antioxidants some 500%. It was actually 800% for glutathione peroxidase, 500% for SOD. So very much like a light bulb without electricity, these antioxidants without these reactive molecules are not able to deal with the oxidative stress in your body. It's a truly amazing concept that very, very few people are familiar with. So you must have that. And then the other thing is, not only does ASEA increase, these reactive molecules increase the effectiveness of the existing glutathione and SOD, it actually also increases the quantity of that glutathione and SOD within the cells themselves. Now here's the interesting thing. The laboratories that are involved in doing this research, they've seen other products on the market that are known to increase the glutathione and SOD within the cell. But what they've seen is the way that those different products on the market have effectively done that is by having a very, very mild inflammatory response, a slight toxicity, slight inflammatory response that would trigger the cell to increase the quantity of these glutathione and SOD molecules. But they were amazed when they looked at ASEA, because ASEA was the only product that they've ever examined that was able to increase the quantities of glutathione and SOD with zero inflammatory response, total non-toxicity. And again, that's because ASEA is a complete native product. It already exists in literally every cell within our body today. So let's look at the other set of reactive molecules, and those molecules are the immune system communicators. Immune system communicators. Now, every second of our day we have tremendous information passed about our body. I talked about the nervous system, the endocrine system. Our body is an amazing communication network, and it's kind of like an orchestra. And we've all been, or at least seen on television, an orchestra. You know how in the beginning, when everybody's kind of tuning themselves and you got everybody playing different things at the same time? Well, how does that sound when you got all these instruments that are doing all these things and they're not doing it in a coherent fashion? Well, this communication process in the body is just very much like that. There's communication going on, And I'm going to kind of give an example of this. Let's just say, for instance, that there's a terrible fire in a city, and it's so significant that many different fire companies are responding to this. Now, what would happen if for some reason the night before these firemen went out to try and put out their fire, that their communication devices were somehow compromised, and instead of being able to get on their walkie-talkies and communicate to each other, all they got was static? What would be the result? The result would be chaos. They wouldn't be able to be effectively putting out the fire. They wouldn't be able to be communicating. It would be like that orchestra where people were all reading from different sheets of music, and it would sound like chaos. So, what is the situation with redox molecules is that it does a similar kind of thing. It sort of reboots this whole communication process where all of a sudden the communication system is able to communicate clearly. Now, Vertus Norton, as I mentioned, the CEO, co-founder of the company, he likes to say that in his very lay technology and terminology, he likes to see that ASEA kind of acts to reboot your immune system. You know how if you got a PC and you got a bunch of different programs running on it, sometimes your memory and systems just get all bogged down. It starts running really slowly, and it just seems that the only thing left to do is to hit that Control Alternate Delete and basically reboot your computer, and then many times everything just seems magically to start working again. Well, it's very similar to the use of ASEA when you're talking about how your body is able to coordinate this amazing communication process. Now, Dr. Ron Norris, he's an internist, and he's got a tremendous pedigree. He's been over at the faculty of Harvard and Tufts, and he talks about this incredible redox signaling system. And when ASEA was first brought to his attention, he was already familiar with the science of redox signaling. So he was immediately intrigued and excited at the prospect of somebody being able to put a product out there that addresses this, because no one ever before has been able to put a product out there to address this redox signaling system. And when we were talking about the nervous system and the endocrine system, he basically describes that those are systems that work at the system and the organ level, but that at the cellular level, the signaling, redox signaling process is truly paramount. And in his opinion, ASEA is going to revolutionize the nutritional supplement industry. He sees it as really the most powerful supplement out there, understanding and reiterating its ability to activate antioxidants and to communicate in the immune system. And he was pointing out that in this communication process, you've got not only communication within the system, but you need to have a communication signal that starts the immune process and another one that stops the immune process. And all these are controlled by these amazing redox signaling molecules. It's really just a huge body of research going on, and they're finding out that these redox signaling molecules are involved with a wide range of many different biochemical processes. So I just want to kind of point out that we're not talking about huge macromolecules, things like antioxidant molecules, which are literally hundreds of atoms big. We're not talking about amino acids and polypeptides. We're not talking about glycoproteins. We're talking about something extremely simple. These reactive molecules are tiny. They're sometimes only 1, 2, 3, 4 atoms big. And they're so simple, yet they're so profound in the way they involve and help bring your body to homeostatic balance and equilibrium. That is the true essential aspect of health. It literally is empowering your body to do what it knows to do at the cellular level. And I want to point out that the amazing things that ASEA does, and we've seen extraordinary things in my experience over the last 6 months, I've seen more incredible things that I've seen as a result of people using ASEA, not only internally but also spraying it on externally, more in the last 6 months than I've seen in the last 30 years of my experience in the health and wellness arena. And really, at the end of the day, it's not that ASEA has anything to do to force your body to do anything. It is literally bringing about the reactive molecules that are there to provide that 100% effective activity at that cellular level. It literally is allowing those processes to function the way it would as a young child again. It literally is kind of like finding that fountain of youth. It's truly remarkable. So let's talk a little bit about another area of ASEA, one that the 15 years of research or so that they were doing in health-related conditions, they literally had no idea about it. When Virtus Norton first acquired the technology, took over control, brought Dr. Gary Samuelson in to be able to define the mechanism of action, to create the stabilization of the product, and decide how they wanted to get the product out to the market. One of the things they didn't realize that there was an athletic component to it. Now, what led to that development essentially was Virtus had a son-in-law who was an avid cyclist. He bicycles some 250 miles a week, and in the wintertime, when it's not conducive to bicycling outside, he uses these spinner bikes. And while he's on these spinners, he's hooked up to all kinds of monitors and devices, and he's been keeping this data for literally years. And he discovered to his amazement that he was hitting his peak exercise routines, and his heart rate was some 20% less than it normally ever was in all the data that he's been basically collecting. And he called Virtus up and he said, "Do you realize what you've got here?" And Virtus says, "Hey, no, okay, let's take a look at this. What I want you to do is I want you to stop using the product, take the readings, use the product, stop using the product, take it again, and do this off and on." And they found consistently that when he drank the ASEA before exercising, that his heart rate was 20% less every time. And when he wasn't taking the ASEA product, it went back to normal. So if you take a look at athletics, if you're taking a look at having the edge in athletics, endurance is everything. If everybody's got the same training, the same equipment, the same amount of performance ability, endurance is everything when it comes to competition. So let's take a look at what happens with ASEA. Now, after they discovered that this 20% less heart rate, they actually decided to start doing some tests. They got a group of athletes together and they started doing a test that's called a VO2 max test. And a VO2 max test is essentially looking at how your body is essentially dealing with oxygen metabolism, how your body functions with oxygen, how it gets rid of carbon dioxide, and it's intimately involved in something called a lactate threshold, the point when your body starts building up lactic acid. And so they started doing this research. They started seeing consistently across the board that everybody was having a lower average heart rate, less soreness, better recovery, and they decided to look at something called a ventilatory threshold. Now I want to just kind of put this in perspective. The very first time they did the test, they got a 10% increase in a ventilatory threshold. And they were thinking, well, 10%, you know, what does that really mean? It doesn't sound like very much. Now, Virtus and his partner, James Pack, James is the president of ASEA, they live in Park City, Utah. And up in Park City, Utah, they got a chance to meet with a very, very prominent sports medicine doctor by the name of Max Testa. Now, Max Testa was one of the medical directors of the Tour de France. His partner, Eric Heiden, who was the guy that won the 5 Olympic medals in speed skating, they're both now orthopedic surgeons, and they're really considered sports luminaries out there. They're very, very highly acclaimed. And so they went to him with this test. And they said, "Max, you know, 10% difference in ventilatory threshold, what does this mean? You know, I mean, we don't really understand it. 10% doesn't sound like very much." So Max Testa basically said, "Now wait a minute. First off, your experiment has got to be flawed. You're going to have to go back and redo the experiment because it is impossible that you got a 10% increase in ventilatory threshold." And they said, "Well, we don't get it. What's the big deal? Assuming that the test actually was right, give me a sense of perspective in this." And he said, "Look, I want you to understand that an athlete that is a competitive athlete that is rigorously training is going to train for 6 months to a year to get a 1 or 2% increase in ventilatory threshold. And that people that are taking illegal performance enhancing drugs are going to do that to get a 2 to 3% increase in ventilatory threshold. And you're basically saying that you're able to get within 2 weeks of taking this product literally a 10 or a 12% increase in ventilatory threshold, he said that's impossible. Impossible. They did 10% in their first test. So again, 10% versus 2%, 3% with people that are taking performance-enhancing drugs. So, of course, the first question that Verta said when Max officially, shared this with him was, well, is this going to be legal? I mean, are athletes, professional athletes, going to be able to take this? And so Max Testa was thinking, well, in Spain they do this testing this way, in England they test it different way, and in the U.S. they test it. But after considering it, yeah, of course this is going to be legal. After all, these molecules are produced literally in every cell of your body every second of the day. But of course you're going to have to go and do the laboratory testing to show that there's none of the prohibited substances in the product that the World Anti-Doping Association looks at to make it so that all professional athletes will be able to take the product. And that is something that ASEA has done. They've done that testing to show that literally there are no prohibited substances in the ASEA product. But they did go back, according to Testa's recommendation, to go and actually do a more sophisticated study with a greater population, so they had the appropriate statistics, and in that test they came up with a 12% increase in ventilatory threshold. And Max Testa and Eric Heiden were so impressed with the results of this that they are now overseeing a formal clinical trial, a full placebo crossover study that they'll be publishing on ASEA relative to athletic activity. So let's just kind of take a look at that. I mean, that really is exciting. So we are not talking about something that is hypothetical. We're seeing that with athletes on a regular basis now that are experiencing this product and sharing information. Athletes like Coulter Hammer, who was one of the early marathon runners that got exposed to taking the product, and he just took it 1 week. He started taking it 1 week before doing a half marathon, and to his amazement, he ran what's called a negative split. A negative split means that you basically run the second half of the race faster than you did the first half of the race. And he kept waiting to have that barrier come up during the race, and it never came, and he was able to just increase pouring it on to the point where he was able to run faster in that second half. And after 5 months, he continues to get better and better results and beat his personal best as a result of using the ASEA product. Then you take a look at another person, Mark Thornell, who's a long-distance cyclist. And Mark actually is the brother-in-law, the actual son-in-law that brought the attention to ASEA of the heart rate initially. And he has found just amazing results in using ASEA as a long-distance cyclist. You take a look at Terry Chiplin, who basically runs an active altitude training camp up at high altitude at Estes Park, Colorado, and he's involved in coaching athletes around the world for them to get acclimated at running at high altitude so that they're able to really get their oxygen efficiency up. And he found that it was just amazing to see what ASEA did at working with individuals, and everybody getting dramatic improvement and people breaking their personal best. And he says it's the most significant advancement he's ever seen in the health and nutritional and sports arena. So we're seeing a lot of people talk about ASEA. And you look at negative splits, you look at lower heart rates, better recovery, personal best. How is all this possible? And it's possible because of this incredible breakthrough with ASEA, because of this tremendous research and what it does in the area of redox signaling. And just again, ASEA starts as salt water. It goes through an amazing, sophisticated, heavily patented process, over 20 patents on it, including trade secrets, to do what was considered by chemists to be the impossible, to create and stabilize these various signaling mechanisms. And this is the only product in the world that is able to do this. Again, it's beyond natural, it's native to the body, and it has got 100% zero levels of toxicity. Totally amazing. So just taking a look at another a person, a college basketball coach, Mike Jarvis, taking a look at this. An incredible individual, highly discerning about looking at sports-related nutritional products. And he had his own personal experience with not only himself but also his wife taking the product, experiencing much more sense of aliveness, not being as irritable, which you can imagine a coach can be, maintaining a high level of energy, being able to sleep like a baby. And he says this is a must product that every athlete, every team that wants to achieve and be a championship team will strive to have. I mean, those are very powerful words, like a basketball coach by the likes of Mike Jarvis. Taking a look at another individual, you got Michelle LeSueur, a very highly respected health and fitness expert. She found in her experience working with her clients tremendous cardio, people losing body fat going from 14% to 7%, incredible results with people that are doing weight training at a very high level area, people being able to build bigger muscles, get better recovery. And then taking a look at one of her personal friends and fitness models, David Kimberly, who was Ironman of the Year last year. He found amazing results in using ASEA and helping him achieve in a very short time what it would normally take him much longer periods, tremendous improvement in building the muscle and having the way it looks to be able to be on the cover of magazines like this and being able to build muscle. So very excited about the results here. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of ASEA. I'm going to kind of reiterate this. Again, it's a massive breakthrough in health and wellness, a significant impact on sports and fitness, reducing heart rate, less soreness, better recovery, an incredible 12% increase in ventilatory threshold. That is multiples, 3 to 4 times of what people that are taking illegal performance enhancing drugs will get. 12% is literally unheard of, unfathomed. It's native to the body, no toxicity, and you can only get it from somebody who is a registered ASEA associate. Only get it from somebody that's a registered ASEA associate. Let's just take a look at some purchasing options here just to give you a sense of it. Now, ASEA comes either 2 bottles or 4 bottles at retail. They've got a phenomenal mechanism where somebody can become a preferred customer and be able to buy it directly at wholesale. A preferred customer is literally somebody that just decides to go on the website and agree to get it on an auto shipment monthly basis, but they can place their auto shipment and literally they can change it at will. They can stop it, they can start it, they can change the amount of it, but if they become a preferred customer, they're able to buy it at the wholesale price of $120 for 4 bottles, or 2 bottles at $65. And the amount that people take, essentially, it's recommended to take either 2 ounces or 4 ounces a day. Most people start off and kind of do saturation loading of their body by taking 4 ounces of a day, and after that 2 ounces of a day. It's an amazing product in doing that, and we're seeing huge improvement in a number of different things. And more importantly, there's an unconditional empty bottle money back guarantee. 30 days unconditional guarantee, so you've got nothing to lose by trying this product and literally everything to gain. And now, from what I understand, at the upper side, I think the upper left, I can't see this myself, of our screen, there is a purchase link where you can click and be able to access your ability to get the ASEA product. So let's kind of put this in perspective, and we'll close, and then we'll kind of move into a little bit of question and answer here. And I know some people have been putting in a few questions in the chat box, and after I do this, I'll get a chance to look at that and we'll address that. But ASEA is allowing your body to empower the cells at a level never before been able to achieve by any kind of supplement. The whole concept of ASEA of being able to create balanced reactive molecules was once thought impossible. If you Google redox signaling and put in products, the only product you will find is ASEA, based on the few people out there that are starting to use ASEA in keywords relative to the internet, but you will not find other products because people did not think there was any way of stabilizing these reactive molecules. And again, we're not talking about ASEA changing structure of function, forcing the body to do anything other than empowering the body to do what it is already able to do and is currently doing for the most part when people are young children. And as we go older, this whole system essentially loses its ability to function the way it does under ideal conditions. So, at this point, I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to take a look at some of our questions that we're seeing in the chat box. Everybody's got a little chat box, and I can see these questions. And I'm looking at a question here that has to do with the pink. Someone is saying in the legend that it's cut off to the right about the pink and blue, and frankly I can't see that, so I am not sure exactly what that means. Because I'm seeing all that myself, someone's going to have to be a little bit more specific about that. Now we got Randy. Randy is saying that the company is avoiding disclosure of the biochemical process. Is this to avoid some kind of regulation or scrutiny? I don't really think that the company is avoiding these biochemical processes. I think that they're just trying to simplify things so that people don't feel like they need to be a biochemist or a cell biologist or a molecular biologist to really discuss these. We're really trying to kind of describe it from the point of view of these antioxidant activators and discuss it from the point of view of these communication signaling aspects. But there is a little bit of areas where of course we're trying to stay in the right side of the regulatory processes out there. We can't go out there and make structure and function claims because that puts us into a different category. We would no longer be considered a nutraceutical category. We would be forced into being a pharmaceutical category. And I just want to take a moment to give a little bit of historical context to this. When Virtus Norton and James Pack acquired the technology from the original company that did all those years of research, they had a couple of options. And essentially this is kind of the way it went. After they stabilized the product and they developed a mechanism of action, Virtus, who's this amazing guy that comes from a Fortune 10 background, he's one of a handful of people in the world that's able to evaluate and discern things and fix things at a company level like nobody else has been able to do. And when he retired from Kraft Foods after 35 years in the corporate world, he was VP of corporate strategy and corporate engineering. People around the world respect him and his ability to discern different things. And he knew that he could take this product and package it and sell it to another company that wanted to go out there. He could sell it to a pharmaceutical world. They could take it through a pharmaceutical process the original company was trying to do. Or they also knew they had the possibility of moving it through a nutraceutical process. Now here's the thing. In the process of stabilizing these reactive molecules, they discovered that there was nothing they could do to add to the solution, to color it, to flavor it, to sweeten it. Anything that they did to add to this particular product would essentially destabilize and release these reactive molecules. So they weren't certain how the market would react to this. So one of the first things they did is they took a group of about 40 people. They gave them a couple, 3 months supply of the product with the intent that after 2 months or so they would get together with these people and have a focus group with them and see whether they would actually be willing to buy this stuff, to pay for the product. After all, they've been having it free up to this point because this product doesn't have the flavor that you would get from some kind of a juice product or something along those. So it doesn't taste like grape juice. It tastes essentially like mild salt water and even like a mild pool water almost kind of flavor when you first drink it. Although if you take it from a little shot and you just take it quickly, you don't even notice it. And another thing that's really amazing is that people found that after they start taking the product and they come into balance, that they don't even able to taste the product at all. I noticed that if I'm out there and I'm really being a little less careful with myself, a little less disciplined, and I'm starting to get out of balance, and when I start drinking the ASEA product, I notice that flavor to it before like I did originally, and as soon as I get back into that balance again, I can't even notice it at all. So what they did was they got together with these people and they gave them the product. At the same time, they had friends in the pharmaceutical industry, an individual that was the CEO and chairman of a mid-sized pharmaceutical company, and they sent in their own team and they were evaluating and examining the research behind this product. And basically at the same time, they went back to those people and realized that those 40 people were having such incredible results with the product that they were begging for more of it, and they were sending it to friends and family members around the world. And at the end of 2 months, they had almost 130 people using the product in 20 countries. And they were not prepared for that. They were kind of chagrined that the product was out there in so many different places. And at about the same time, these folks in the pharmaceutical realm had realized that these guys had something that they thought was really significant, and they said, look, we understand that you got something here, and we are prepared to write you a check big enough that you don't even need to consider any other options. But guess what? The first thing you got to do is you got to completely shut down all these people using the product. You can't have anybody using the product out there. And now, and Virtus, he said, now wait a minute, here's a challenge, because there's a half a dozen people that we have very grave concerns about them not using the product. If they stop using the product, we're very concerned about what the outcome may be. And the gentleman from the pharmaceutical company said, well, look, I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. You got to shut it down. And it was that night, as they pondered that they needed to that they decided to make that decision to move into the nutraceutical world rather than the pharmaceutical world, because they felt that if it got sold to the pharmaceutical company, yeah, they would have made a ton of money, but they felt that it wouldn't get out there as far and wide as they really had developed a true keen sense of stewardship that this product needed to get out there to in the world. If they felt that if it ever saw the light of the day in the pharmaceutical world, it would have a very, very narrow application and only go to a small range of people. And so they made that decision some 2.5 years ago to move into the network marketing arena. And the interesting thing is, out of those original 6 people, 5 of them are walking around completely normal today, tremendously grateful that this product was made available to them. So I'm going to continue in this consider. Somebody's talking about this pink and blue again, and I'm sorry, I'm not seeing what you're seeing, so I'm just going to have to rely on that. So please, someone is saying, Gina is saying, please show the mitochondrial slide again. And I'm going to see if I can do that real quick, just so that we got it on the screen while we're talking. And so we got the mitochondrial slide again. So Gina, that's for you. Okay, so another person is saying, so I am guaranteed to have increased energy. Will this product also help balance hormones? Well, in the world of supplements, nutrition, we can't guarantee anything. You know how you always see results. Individual results may vary. But I can tell you that I have never seen anything with such a spectacular response of people using this product. And I'm talking sometimes minutes or even hours or days, very, very rarely weeks, very, very rarely weeks, and even more rarely months. But not everybody necessarily feels themselves getting better. The sad thing is we don't feel ourselves getting unhealthy, and we don't necessarily feel ourselves getting healthier. But I can tell you from practitioners that are very, very adept in using microscopy, when they're studying the blood of the people that are using ASEA, they're amazed to see how quickly this is having a huge, huge improvement in the quality of people's blood. So it's no mystery, it's no surprise to them that people are having the results that they're getting with this. So whether you have increased in energy, many, many people are doing it. But here's something that happened with me. The second or the third day that I was taking the product, I actually got incredibly fatigued in the middle of the day, and I needed to take a nap, and that is something I rarely ever do. But you see, I've been involved in dealing with different kinds of health technologies over the year, and I know that many times when our body wants to go ahead and do something and we give it something that gives it a resource that it didn't have before, it's really able to do the better part of the repair mechanisms at night while we're sleeping. And a lot of times our body just wants us to put itself into that sleep mode so it can start doing repair. And so I'm not the only person that's experienced that over the last 6 months or so that I've been using the product. In fact, I've got an individual that I know of that had a very serious condition that plagued him for some 14 years, a serious degenerative condition. And for the first, basically day 2, day 3, day 4, he was so fatigued and sleeping so much during those days that he was very tempted to stop taking the product. But he kept with it, and on the 5th day, it was like the sun is shining and the birds are singing, and he felt just fabulous. And by day 8, he considered it an absolute miracle what it did for him. It was truly remarkable to hear his story. So yeah, not everybody's going to experience incredible energy immediately the first day, but I hear over and over again from people doing it that after about a week and a half, people were experiencing wonderful results, not just sleeping phenomenally well at night, but having tremendous energy of the day. And whether it's balancing hormones or not, I've seen all kinds of things that only indicates that those kinds of things are happening. Again, it's not that ASEA is balancing those hormones, it's that our body, when the communication system is rebooting, that these kinds of things are working more effectively. Now, I do know from the research that there is a lot of research being done about redox signaling being intimately involved in the efficiency of various hormone reactions, the way the hormone binds to receptors. So there's no telling how more effective our bodies are able to do things once these redox signaling molecules are balanced. Okay, I got a question here from Pauline. And she says, hello, if you're already taking a glutathione precursor, should you keep taking it? Well, Pauline, here's my recommendation. My recommendation is try it, see what it does for you. A lot of people I know that are taking some wonderful products out there that do increase the glutathione are finding that when they add the ASEA to their regimen, that it's having phenomenal results. Phenomenal results. And so they're continuing to use it. Now, other people are finding that after a period of time, when they're experimenting and they're taking perhaps less of some of those other things, that they're not seeing any degradation in the way they feel. And so they may adjust taking those products, but it is strictly up to you. The important thing, Pauline, is that there's no contraindications here. There's not going to be anything negative, only positive about taking the ASEA product with what you want to do. It is strictly up to you. We are not talking about replacing all the important information and products out there that we've been learning about over the last decades. It's not going to replace the vitamins that you take. It's not going to replace the amino acids, the polysaccharides, all the various different wonderful products on the market. Those are all nutritional building blocks. In order to build those 300 billion cells every day, you got to have the raw materials, and everything works together to make that process effective. ASEA really isn't a nutritional supplement. If anything, it's a communication supplement. So it's strictly up to you, Pauline. It's up to you whether you want to continue doing it. So I'm taking a look here from John K. in Dallas. He's saying, my performance training contacts are struggling believing the 12% VO2 max gain. Unbelievable. Too good to be true. I have shown them the current test and told them about the major new study underway. Any other tips for gaining credibility? Well, I'll tell you, John, what other people have done. And again, Max Testa, he thought it was virtually impossible that anybody could get a 12% VO2 test. There's a group of people. I'll just take a minute and kind of give this story. One of the guys that got exposed to ASEA owns a very high-end bicycle company, the kind that has the carbon fiber where you're paying $6,000 just for a wheel, another $6,000 for the frame and that sort of thing. And essentially he had a group of his cyclists, his high-end cyclists, tried the product with just amazing results, consistent results with everybody using it. Now, he's friends with some folks that own a bicycle magazine, one of the top cycling magazines in the country, and their editorial staff decided to do their own independent analysis of this to really see if this was just a bunch of hype and you know, and whether it was nonsense. So they actually had some of their high-end riders go and get their own ventilatory threshold done, and guess what? Guess what the answer they got was? They got a 12% increase as well. Now, when we did the study with the 12%, that was the average increase. So that means some people got a little less, some people got a little bit more. The average was 12%. But these individuals, and I've heard other people now that have done their own ventilatory threshold tests, that people across the board are getting these amazing results. Is everybody going to get 12%? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. I mean, it really, you know, some people may get 5, 10, 15. You know, it's going to be a little bit different based on what's going on. But again, just bear in mind, 3% is what people do, you know, when people are taking prohibited substance do. So I encourage people to do their own case study. Get a case of the product, experience for themselves. Remember, there's a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee. Try it, see what it does for you. Okay, now someone is saying, hello, the PowerPoint is not fit. It's cropped off the left extreme. I'm enjoying this. Interesting, exciting. And hey, you know, I know about this. The slides I'm looking at are perfect. They're not cropped, you know, but we kind of put this PowerPoint together, and when it got converted from the PowerPoint presentation to the slides that were uploaded into this particular system that we're using tonight, we realized that literally at the 11 o'clock, 11:59 hour, that they get cropped. We apologize for that, and you know, and the next time we do these presentations, we'll make sure that we account for that. So yeah, we do realize that, but it was too late to do anything, and we apologize for that. So Dr. David says, the bar graph you showed on athletic performance with the performance-enhancing drugs together, we didn't see that legend clearly. And I'm going to go bring that up if I can find it real quick. If I can remember where that was. Yeah, and the problem was it was cut off. So let me explain what this is here. Oh, this must be the blue and the pink that people were asking about. So this blue bar here that you see at 12%, this is what ASEA does as far as ventilatory threshold. This is based on ventilatory threshold, and this pink is performance enhancing drugs. So you can see that ASEA is 4 times what performance enhancing drugs are all about. And so I apologize for that. I know that people always, you know, when you see something and you don't know, it's hard to kind of move forward, but hopefully that will help you be able to do things, be able to understand this. So Sean is saying, I have heard of similar benefits in the field of glycobiology. Can you tell me how the processes are different? And Sean, you know, I've seen some incredible products in the field of glycobiology, and what we're talking about in glycobiology, folks, is we're talking about this new research that's been done in essential polysaccharides. And what we're talking about is it's discovered that on the surface membrane of the cells that there's these receptor sites that are made of these different sugar molecules, and they're extremely important in the ability to sense what's going in the environment, and therefore it's involved in the communication process of what's taking place. Very, very good question, Sean, but it's a very, very different kind of communication between this redox signaling process and the signaling process we're talking about at the receptor site level on the surface of the membranes. We're talking about the communication of macromolecules, and it's really almost more impacting more the endocrine system, the way hormones and other active biomolecules communicate on the cell membrane is affected by those polysaccharides. What we're talking about in redox signaling is extremely much more fundamental. It has to do with the way cells themselves recognize that they've been damaged and triggering the process of them repairing themselves and repairing that damage, and if they can't repair that damage, getting that replacement process taking place. Gary is asking me, can you put back the slide immediately after high altitude training? And Gary, I'm going to see if I can do that. immediately after high altitude training. High altitude training, Gary, this is the one that's immediately after that. Negative splits, lower heart rates, better recovery, personal best. I'm not sure, Gary, whether that's the one that you're looking at. We've got that one. We've got the one that is looking at this. Maybe that's the one that you're looking at, or maybe you're looking for the coach. So I'm going to put it back on this one, Gary, and if you want to ask me that question again, I'll try and put it to the one that you want. Okay, so let's see here. Joan is asking, what is the bottle size? Excellent question, Joan. The bottle is 32 ounces, 1 quart. And so somebody that is taking 2 ounces a day, they're going to go through 2 bottles over a period of a month. If they're taking 4 ounces a day, they're going to go through basically 4 bottles a month. We've got people that are taking less than 2 ounces a day. In fact, my wife was using about 1 ounce a day for the first several weeks, and now she's taking 2-3 ounces a day. But people will have different results with it. I've seen people get results with literally taking 20 drops at a time. Now, if somebody's dealing with some serious health challenges, they're going to want to really achieve that saturation load of getting these reactive molecules doing their work in the body more rapidly. So they may want to take as much as 8 to 12 ounces a day, serious saturation loading for a period of maybe 4 weeks, and then after that, back to maintenance load. So hopefully that answers your question, Joan. So Pauline, what about Canada? Is it available? Currently, ASEA is only available in the United States. The company will only ship in the United States. But I can tell you that they are currently in the process of full registration in Canada, and they're looking at probably being on the tail end, the backside of that registration process, as early as June. There's no guarantee. They're dealing with regulatory bodies up in Canada. They've been working on it full time, full process, full court press since January. And as soon as it comes out on the other side where they're able to legally start shipping product across the Canadian border, we will let everybody know that. Okay? So hopefully that answers your question, Pauline. Okay? So Dr. David in his chat again is saying people can click on the banner at the upper right corner to order a ASEA product. And again, I want everybody to understand that. It's as simple as clicking that and being able to get access to this amazing, amazing product. Okay, so I'm getting a thank you from a John K in Dallas. Other people are saying how they enjoy the presentation. And let's see, Gary is saying, thanks, okay, the one before the ASEA. And maybe that's the one, Gary. Okay, oh, somebody's saying, Randy is asking about the topical benefits. And thank you, Randy, for bringing that up again. I have to tell you that ASEA is amazing to use it. When you buy a case, when you get one of those boxes with the 4 bottles in it, inside the case is a spray bottle that comes with it. It's a little 4-ounce bottle that you put in there, and you can spray this stuff. You can spray it literally in your face. You could spray it even anywhere. It's amazing how wonderful it feels and how quickly it does things for your body. Again, it's like, imagine that 5-year-old kid scraping their knee and seeing that if you scraped your knee and you sprayed this on there, that knee repaired itself as quickly as it did as that 5-year-old. You could almost watch it work. It's amazing. We have estheticians that are taking this spray bottle. They're selling these spray bottles now. They're taking that 32-ounce bottle. They're filling these up, 4 ounces each. They're getting 8 of these out of one bottle. They're selling them for $15 as a skin toner. Why? Because it's having amazing results in the quality of the pore size and the texture of the skin. We've got a huge number of people remarking on how wonderful it makes them look and feel, and it is incredibly refreshing. Anything going on with your skin, you spray this on there and you can almost watch it work. So I'm very, very glad that people have been asking that. Dee is asking, is this slide presentation available somewhere? Where I got this slide presentation, I want to give full credit to. The slide presentation was put together by a wonderful colleague of mine, a gentleman by the name of Alan Noble, and you can see the slide presentation if you go to amazingmolecules.com. I kind of put a few ones together from part of his health presentation and the athletic presentation, but the slide presentation with Alan narrating it is available at amazingmolecules.com. But I don't have the PowerPoint presentation from it, so I basically had to use screenshots to put this together. There is a great presentation that those of you that are associates of ASEA can get in their back office. It has a lot of this information. The one that I normally do when I'm doing presentations, but this is, since I was doing a webinar, I wanted more things going on in the background, and so I took advantage of the presentation that he did such a phenomenal job putting together. Okay, let's see. Ben is asking, will there be more webinars on ASEA? When's the next date set? And you know, and he wants to make this happen, get more people involved. Well, I'll be talking to Dr. Dave to see more in terms of, in this particular venue, what the future holds, so stay tuned on that. And for sure we will be doing more webinars. It's our goal as a organization of people building the ASEA business that we are going to be doing a regular webinar. Nowhere is as involved in this, probably something that's only 20 to 30 minutes long every Thursday. But I love this particular venue that Dr. David has basically put together. My hat's off to you, and again, just stay tuned. We'll see what happens from there. So, and Dr. Dave is saying, whenever you want, we're free in April. So we'll be talking, we'll figure something out, and stay tuned for emails coming out there, and we'll get the information out. So I guess at this juncture, unless anybody has any other questions that come up at the last minute, I want to thank you all so much for your attention, for making this possible. This really is an incredible product. I truly believe that I have never seen anything close to ASEA in my 30 years of research. You know, I consider myself a scientist, somewhat discerning. I'm very skeptical, as many people are out there. It was really only putting ASEA to the test. And like I said, once I understood redox signaling, I was convinced that redox signaling was a huge, huge breakthrough and whole great promise for humanity. But I wanted to know that ASEA fulfilled the promise of that science, and I can tell you that it does, and hopefully it does for you. Experience the product, you know, get it, try it, get back to the people that shared this with you, click on the link, and we look forward to working with you in the future. And again, thank you so much, and I bid everybody a wonderful and good evening.